speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين والآخرين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to a new edition of Ask Huda. The phone numbers are as usual, area code 002-023855, 248 or 249, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. We'll be more than happy to start immediately taking your valuable questions and concerns, inshallah, and answer them in the same order they were received as much as we can, inshallah azza. And while we're waiting for your phone calls, I just had a comment pending from the last time about fiqh al-awlawiyat, or the better of the best with regards to fiqh, with regards to the fiqh choices and selections. The fiqh of preferences, which one should be given preference at a time. And also a couple of questions from Umar. I'll begin by tackling the questions from Umar from the KSA. He said, can we make up the missed nafil prayers, particularly the 2 rak'ah before Fajr? Yes, it is prescribed to do so, even if making up these prayers or nafil and voluntary prayers happen to be during the disliked times. I mean, with the disliked times, there are 3 times during the day that the Prophet ﷺ forbade us from praying any unnecessary prayer, any prayer which is neither a fard nor is it a prescribed nafl, or making up a missed fard or a prescribed nafl, such as after praying Fajr and until past sunrise, and 15 minutes before the zawal, before dhuhr time, and after Salat al-Asr and until sunset. Once Salama, may Allah be pleased with her, observed the Prophet ﷺ praying at home after Asr. After he finished praying Asr, he went home and he was praying. She said, Ya Rasulullah, I thought you forbade us from praying after Asr. He said, that is true, but these are the 2 rak'ahs, the remaining sunnah of dhuhr. I caught with some business and I was busy. I did not pray them, so I'm making them up. And we all know that 2 rak'ahs before dhuhr or 4 and 2 rak'ahs after dhuhr or 4 are emphatic sunan, because in the hadith of Habiba, the prescribed nawafil, the emphatic sunan before and after the prayers are 12. 2 before Fajr, 4 before dhuhr, 2 by 2, 2 after dhuhr, and 2 after Maghrib, and 2 rak'ahs after Isha. So these are very important nawafil, most specifically the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr. In that regard, the Prophet ﷺ said the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr are better than the entire dunya and what it contains. So the Prophet ﷺ was very keen to offer these 2 rak'ahs, the nawafil before Fajr, even if he was on a journey, where he would normally shorten the prayer and combine sometimes 2 prayers at the time of either one of them, such as Dhuhr and Asr together at the time of either one, and Maghrib and Isha at the time of either one, whether the earlier or the later prayer. And furthermore, he would not pray the nawafil, even the emphatic sunan before or after, except the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr and the witr prayer. Even if he was traveling, the Prophet ﷺ was very keen to observe these nawafil. So the answer is yes, you're allowed to make up the missed nawafil, even during awqatul karaha. And the second question, pending from Umar's questions, what is the timetable for the duha prayer? There are many ahadith were narrated with regards to the virtues of the duha prayer. The Prophet ﷺ said, such prayer is a great prayer. It can give thanks to the blessings of the 360 joints or sulama, or the small bones between each two joints, with which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the free mobility. So the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, على كل سلامة في كل يوم صدقة. We should give thanks to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for each one of these sulama, whether the joints or the small bones between the joints. He said, فَتَسْبِيحَةٌ صَدَقَةٌ تَحْمِيدَةٌ صَدَقَةٌ وَتَكْبِيرَةٌ صَدَقَةٌ وَتَهْلِيلَةٌ صَدَقَةٌ. Saying, glory be to Allah, praise be to Allah, La ilaha illallah, Allah is a great. All of these are all charity statements, good deeds that can pay for some of these gifts. And now, وَيُجْزِئُكَ عَنْ ذَلِكَ كُلِّهِ, and it will suffice you, because it will be a bit hard for every person to remember every morning to say 360 times these adhkar in order to give thanks for the sulama, or remove hazardous materials or things from the path of people, or. So the Prophet ﷺ said, you can make it up by praying 2 rak'ahs of ad-duha. 15 to 20 minutes past sunrise, that is the beginning time for the duha prayer, and extends all the way until 15 minutes before the dhuhr prayer, before the sun moves away from its meridian. The best time is approaching the end of time, when the sun is at its hottest degree, approaching the middle of the horizon. The Prophet ﷺ said, حين ترمض الفصام, the baby camels who did not develop very thick epiderm to protect them against the heat of the sand on midday, whenever it's really hot, they keep lifting and alternating between their hooves because of the extreme heat. So that is the best time to pray the duha prayer. The minimum, as I said, is 2 units, 2 rak'ahs, and according to the vast majority of the scholars, you can pray them up to 8 rak'ahs, 2 by 2 as well. There are many virtues with regards to the duha prayer. One of them is that the Prophet ﷺ said, if one happened to pray the Fajr in congregation and stays where he or she offered the prayer, the Fajr prayer, making dhikr until it is sunrise, then they pray the 2 rak'ahs, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pay them the reward of offering a complete Hajj and Umrah. And he repeated this statement 3 times to confirm that there will be a complete reward of performing Hajj and Umrah for a person who would do that. And this package and this reward is available on every single day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Maryam from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Please, I have a question, Sheikh.
Go ahead, Maryam, I hear you.
Hello? Okay, please, I would like to know the condition of my previous Hajj, where I assume my ihram from Jeddah instead of the prescribed
Miqat.
ihram point.
Okay, so you made the ihram from Jeddah, not from the appointed Miqat. That's your question, right?
Because it was halal.
Yes.
It is halal, I know.
Okay. Second question, please.
Okay. That is all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Maryam. Jazakumullahu khair. Brother Awal from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Awal?
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah wa shukrullah.
MashaAllah. I have 2 questions for you, Sheikh. Number 1 is regarding fasting to Shawwal, during the month of Shawwal after Ramadan. Is it permissible for a Muslim after observing the 6 days fasting in between the months for him to fast his normal weekly fasting, that's Mondays and Thursdays within Shawwal, or does he have to wait after the month of Shawwal? That's my first question. You understand?
This is a little strange, Awal. You're asking about the permissibility of fasting during the month of Shawwal after finishing the 6 days of Shawwal? Is this your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
What makes you
fast
think?
weekly.
What makes you think that it is not permissible to fast during any time during the month of Shawwal? I mean, have you heard anybody saying that after fasting the 6 days you're not allowed to fast?
Pardon?
Have you heard any person saying that after fasting the 6 prescribed days during the month of Shawwal,
Yes.
that you cannot fast any
Yes.
voluntary fasting?
No, I haven't. I just want to find
Okay.
out so that I will
Okay.
not
So you're
harm
suggesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Awal. Any other questions? Suhail from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum.
وعليكم السلام وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله تعالى.
How are you, brother Suhail?
Sheikh, I want you to answer a question. My wife is about to deliver in the next few hours. She asked you last week, but you did not answer the question. So she emphasized that I should ask you because we are expecting baby.
Was the question about invocations to facilitate the delivery?
Yes, yes.
I delivered a detailed answer to this question last episode, brother Suhail.
You have answered the question.
In detail.
Okay.
Jazakallah khairan. And I seize this opportunity since she's given birth in a few hours, inshallah. May Allah make it easy for her. May Allah provide you with the best offspring and make them healthy and make them strong believers. Ameen. And make them pious. Aisha from the KSA.
Hello.
Assalamu alaikum, Sister Aisha.
Walaikum salam. I have two questions.
Go ahead, please.
Is the handling of raw meat with some blood on it nullify the ablution?
Okay.
The
The
second
drop,
question
the blood drops. What is the source of that?
Or chicken or meat or something, raw meat.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Somebody was injured, you mean?
Pardon?
The drops of blood. What is the source of the blood?
That is for cooking. I have taken some meat.
So she bled herself, and the clothes were soiled with some blood drops. Is this what you're saying?
Blood on it.
Okay.
The blood nullifies the ablution.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my second question is,
Now,
voluntary prayer is not recommended after Asr prayer. Suppose I have not offered the first prayer, but the time of Asr has already entered. Can I offer the nafil and then offer the first prayer?
okay, you mean the nafl for dhuhr, for the previous prayer, right?
For nafil prayer.
Nafl of which prayer? Now you said the Asr time has already entered. And you're
Yes.
asking, can I offer the nafl of what prayer?
Yes, yes.
Of what? Of dhuhr?
Any voluntary prayer.
Okay.
Then what about Tahiyatul Masjid prayer?
Okay, I got your question. I understand you now.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Ammar from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you doing, Sheikh, and everybody at Huda TV?
Everybody's doing fine. I'm just missing Jamil because he used to help me a lot.
MashaAllah. May Allah put His barakah in all our efforts and accept our little deeds.
Ameen. Ameen. I'm having difficulty writing the questions, understanding them, and preparing the answers. So that's why I miss him so much.
Barakallah fi.
Wa fiikum.
Now, my first question is, we're trying to make Hajj. This is our first Hajj. And we just keep facing one stumbling block after the other. Should we give up or should we keep trying? Because keep trying means we're going to expend everything that we have.
Okay, are you following the legitimate ways? I mean, are you
Yes.
trying to get the right permit and all of that?
Yes.
Okay, then why you say that it will consume all what you're
Because
saving?
we no longer have time on our side. For instance, we don't have the tickets to go to Jeddah. And with every passing day, it gets more expensive.
Okay, you are currently in Egypt, right? You're currently in Egypt, Ammar, right?
Yes.
Okay, my advice is, yes, keep trying as long as there is the slightest chance. Keep trying, you never know. Some people get it on the last minute. And I just want to assure you, if your name is in the list of the invitees, then that means you're invited, and that means you will definitely go. It is really worth trying. No. And of course, because of your good intention, if somebody intended and tried their best and utilized every possible mean, and they didn't go, they still get the reward of their good intention of performing Hajj, because they've tried. So it is really worth trying. Please continue trying. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy to perform, for you to perform Hajj this year and your family, inshallah. Okay, I'm going to hang on with the phone calls until I answer these questions. Mariam from Nigeria, she said she wanted to know the condition of her last Hajj. She performed Hajj, but she made one error, that she eventually made the ihram from Jeddah instead of making the ihram from the appointed miqat. Now we violated a mandatory act, which is making the ihram from the miqat. And in order to fix this, there is a penalty, which is to slaughter a sheep that should be distributed entirely among the poor people of Mecca. So once you do that, then your Hajj is valid as long as you performed and fulfilled the rest of the arkan, the pillars, and the mandatory acts properly. So now your Hajj is waiting on making up this penalty, or asking somebody to slaughter a sheep for you on your behalf, and actually you can purchase the voucher with Rajhi Bank or any other organization that they take care of this, and you specify this is a fidyah. The fidyah is different than the hadi, different than the udhiyah. In the case of the fidyah, it must be distributed entirely among the poor people of Mecca. But with regards to the hadi and udhiyah, you can eat out of it, you can distribute in a charity, you can even transport it to other countries, to other people who are much more in need, versus the fidyah. Barakallahu fiki. Awal from Nigeria, he just suggested a hypothetical question. He said that if one fasted the 6 days of Shawwal, which the Prophet ﷺ prescribed, and we knew the virtues of fasting 6 days of Shawwal after completing the month of Ramadan, it will be worth of fasting the entire year. And if you do that on a yearly basis, it will be similar to fasting your entire life, or ad-dahr, as the Prophet ﷺ said. He said, after fasting the 6 days, am I allowed to fast any other voluntary fasting, Mondays and Thursdays and so on? Yes, you are allowed. The only issue is that you're not allowed to single out Friday with fasting or Saturday. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Aisha from the KSA, does blood or bleeding nullify the wudu? Well, it depends on the source. If it was an injury, then according to the more right view, bleeding does not nullify the wudu, because Muslims since the beginning, in the battlefields, during wars with the enemies, have been injured and been praying while injured, and their clothes were moist or soiled with the blood. Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhu ardah was stabbed while in the Qibla leading the prayer, and he continued leading the prayer until he fell down. So bleeding, as long as it is due to an injury, not due to the regular or the irregular bleeding from the private office, such as due to the menses or the bleeding or the post-delivery bleeding. This is something different, of course. But due to an injury, it does not nullify the wudu. Okay. Her second question was, can I pray any nafl after the adhan has been called and before I pray Asr? Since I just mentioned that praying after Asr, any nafl, is disliked, as the Prophet ﷺ said, until sunset. Okay, it depends. There is a sunnah before Asr. It is not emphatic. You can pray 2 rak'ahs, you can pray 4 rak'ahs, liman sha', for whoever wants to. You enter the masjid, you want to pray Tahiyatul Masjid, the greeting of the masjid, perfectly fine. You want to pray the sunnah for wudu after making wudu, has a great reward. Yes, that too is valid. But none of the above can be offered after Asr, because these are unnecessary prayers. Okay? You can only pray the fard, or make up the fard, or the emphatic sunnah after Asr. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Now, we can take some more phone calls. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Abdul Rauf from the KSA.
Sheikh, my question is, my father has a fruit garden which needs to be sprayed pesticides 6 to 7 times a year, besides giving other fertilizers. And if monsoons don't bring rain in proper time, it requires to be pumped with some kind of water. And I wanted to know what percentage of its income is supposed to be given in the name of Allah besides zakah. And if a similar piece of land is dependent on natural rain completely, and what is the ruling in that case?
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Abdul Rauf. Thank you. Next. Okay. I said in the beginning, I had some comment on fiqh al-awlawiyat, or the better, best, or the fiqh of priorities. I would like to give an example. When the Prophet ﷺ said, الْيَدُ الْعُلْيَا خَيْرٌ مِنَ الْيَدِ السُّفْلَى وَابْدَأْ بِمَنْ تَعُولُ. This hadith represents fiqh al-awlawiyat. He said the upper hand is better and superior to the lower hand. The upper hand here is a metaphor. It represents the person who gives. Because the giver, the donor, normally his or her hand is on top, while the recipient, the beggar, his or her hand is lower or on the bottom. So the Prophet ﷺ said, the upper hand is better before Allah and superior to the lower hand, the one which takes. Then he said in the last statement, وَابْدَأْ بِمَنْ تَعُولُ. If you are the upper hand, if you are the one who gives, so there are many needy, there are many eligible and entitled for sadaqah or zakah. Whom shall I give first? Who has more priority? He said, ابدأ بمن تعول. Those who are under your guardianship, those whom you are financially responsible for their support and providing for them. Then الأقربون أولى بالمعروف. Relatives, kinship, family members. It is not fair to send your donations abroad while you have family members who are starving or desperately in need or begging others. So this is awlawiyah. This is better. With regards to the most important thing is as-salah, of course, the greatest act of worship, which no one is exempt from offering except women during the menses, or one who is either insane or unconscious or dead. As-salah. The rest of the ibadat, zakah, hajj, fasting, you can find a lot of people exempt from that due to lack of fund, due to being chronically ill, or a combination of both. But as-salah, everybody must pray. While praying, once you start the fard, you're not allowed to exit the prayer unless there is a valid reason, such as you found out that you don't have tahara, or you lost your wudu during the prayer itself. What about if you see a child that is about to fall on his or her face and get in a dangerous place? A blind person crossing the road and a car is about to hit him, if you're praying on the highway, for instance. An insect is about to bite somebody. The fard prayer is the most important thing, and we heard about some of the companions that they were hit with arrows and spears, and that did not let them leave the prayer. So you continue the prayer and you do not save somebody's life. No, we say al-awlawiyah. The priority is to exit from the prayer and to save the life of the person. A child is about to fall from a window. an open window and you're praying, say, it's none of my business. I'm focusing on my prayer. It's a fardu prayer. Of course not. So based on that, there is a very important chapter in the course of fiqh al-awlawiyat, which is the balance, the equilibrium between al-masalih wal-mafasid. Al-masalih is the interest and the benefit that the Sharia requires us to achieve or allows us to achieve in some cases, and the benefits. Al-mafasid, the danger, the harm, and what can ruin one's health, wealth, or deen. So when we look at the balance between them, there is an imminent maslahah, an imminent benefit, then it would be given a priority. But guess what? If I do this maslahah right now, I might fall into a greater harm. So the scholar said, دَرْءُ الْمَفَاسِدِ مُقَدَّمٌ عَلَى جَلْبِ الْمَنَافِعِ. To protect yourself or to repel an evil is given a priority and superiority over acquiring or collecting a benefit. How good is it to achieve something that is good? Meanwhile, it causes a greater harm. I'm going to give da'wah to, I saw a couple, a man and a woman standing in the street, kissing and hugging and so on. Where? Well, it depends. If they do that in a Muslim country, everybody would have the right to object to them. Perhaps somebody would slap them in the face and drag him to the police station, etc. But if you do that in the West, you will end up locked up in the prison, and you can have a severe sentence. So we say, where is the maslahah? The maslahah is in preventing that evil, enjoining what's right and forbidding the evil. Where is the mafsada? That you will ruin yourself, and the maslahah would not be achieved. So we say in this case, preventing the evil and avoiding or protecting yourself against the harm is given a priority and awlawiyah to try and to achieve the good through enjoining what's right and forbidding what's evil. I hope through these examples we shed some light on the matter of fiqh al-awlawiyat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother Sayyid from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, please try again, Brother Sayyid. Imran from the KSA asked earlier, is it okay to take family videos? It is okay to take family videos, but you have to be extra careful, because if this video accidentally fall in the hand of a stranger, or your kids share it on their Facebook account or whatever, it's a disaster. Sometimes when we take personal videos, the wife at home is sitting in the home clothes. She's sitting with comfort, maybe not wearing hijab at all, wearing the home clothes. She's sitting with her husband, even in private. So you have to be extra careful, unless if you want to take women out of the video. And of course, you're going to say, this is discrimination, we like to have fun. We said it is permissible if it is for you, and if it is saved in a proper place, shown only to those who are allowed to see your mastura, or your woman, such as her parents and brothers and sisters and so on. But if this is shared with others, it's exactly like showing the aura of your women to strangers. So this is where the danger comes from, and this is why one is so reluctant to, especially with the digital devices nowadays, it can be no time on the Facebook and Twitter and everywhere. So we have to be careful. Wallahu ta'ala a'la wa a'lam. Let's take a short break, and inshallah I'll be back in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned.
Let's talk. So this is something that you have to point out to them in the Bible.
Something which is, I think, very rarely needed by the youth, which is staying firm on the truth.
This is just one of the greatest examples for me of how to control your anger.
Within the framework of being the cleanest religion, the cleanest jurisprudence, and in the meantime the kindest religion to animals.
Watch Let's Talk with Khalil Amanet as he interviews guests and discusses a variety of topics, everything from youth issues to religious issues. Join us here on Huda TV.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet ﷺ was sent to all mankind. So the ummah or the people of the Prophet ﷺ are all mankind since the time of the Prophet ﷺ till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We already have Sister Khadija. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Khadija?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead, Sister Khadija. I hear you.
Is it permissible? Is it permissible for a Muslim to shave her eyebrow?
Okay, is it permissible for a Muslim to shave the eyebrows?
Yes.
Is that your question?
Because I read a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that we should not pluck your eyebrow.
Okay. Well, if he said you should not pluck the eyebrows, then it is much of a greater sin to shave. I will explain that inshallah in a little bit. Thank you, Khadija. Jazakumullah khair. Abdul Rauf from the KSA called before the break. He has an agricultural industry, and he's asking about the zakah, whether the land is irrigated by rain or irrigated manually. When the field or the ranch is merely irrigated by the rain, by the heaven, then the zakah rate on the crops which are zakatable, once the harvest reaches the nisab, the minimum amount which is zakatable, is 1/10 al-ushr. And if it is irrigated by an effort, by machines, by water wells and so on, then it is half of that 1/5. The details of the zakah rate and what crops are zakatable and what are not are all explained in details in the program of fiqh of zakah. Barakallahu fikum. Plucking the eyebrows and shaving the eyebrows. I don't know why people are not too happy with the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them. If you look at yourself and compare yourself to the world beauty queen, then you better compare yourself to somebody who is inferior to you, or somebody who is handicapped, or somebody who is not blessed with your beauty and complexion. And remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confirmed that إن الله لا ينظر إلى صوركم ولا إلى أجسادكم ولكن ينظر إلى قلوبكم. Allah does not look at your images, the way you look, your bodies, your clothes, this is all superficial. Rather, He looks at your hearts. Somebody can have a white and fair complexion with blue eyes and blonde hair, but the heart is black and darkened. أسود مربادا كالكوز مجخية, turn upside down. How good is that? And somebody can be like Bilal ibn Rabah, may Allah be pleased with him. And the Prophet ﷺ allows him to climb on top of the Kaaba to call the adhan. And he says, "Oh Bilal, what is so good that you do that I was able to hear your footsteps in heaven? What is good that you do that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already reserved a spot for you in heaven? What is good is that? It's not the complexion, it is not the way you look. If one has a good heart, would not keep busy with the way they look. I'm not saying that not to worry about your beauty and so on. No. A woman should adorn herself for her husband, and a husband should adorn himself for his wife. Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma used to say, I like to adorn myself for my wife the same way I like her to adorn herself for me. إني لأحب أن أتزين لزوجتي كما أحب أن تتزين لي. This is great. إن الله جميل يحب الجمال. Allah is beautiful. He is most beautiful and He likes beauty. But altering the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a major sin. Because the shaitan, amongst his promises, he said, وَلَا آمُرَنَّهُمْ فَلَيُغَيِّرُنَّ خَلْقَ اللَّهِ. And I'm going to whisper to them and command them to change the creation of Allah. Somebody doesn't like their complexion. They spend that much money in order to change their complexion. And would that maintain their good life, and would that they would enter heaven? Not necessarily. Somebody has a flat nose and now he wants to have a thin and pointed nose, like to have a European nose. You can't do that. The Prophet ﷺ, in this hadith, which is narrated by Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, may Allah be pleased with him, extended the process of altering the creation of Allah to the teeth. He said, الْمُتَفَلِّجَاتِ لِلْحُسْنِ. The Arab like the teeth which have spaces between them. Others do not like it this way. They think it's a default. The Prophet ﷺ said, those who file their teeth or between their teeth to keep gaps and spaces in order to look beautiful, that's a major sin. If Allah created you this way, you're not allowed to alter it. You're not allowed to shave, to trim, to pluck your eyebrows. And this is not only for women. This is for men and women. He only emphasized that prohibition with regards to women in the feminine sense, because it is more common amongst women. They worry a lot about their eyebrows, and as you know that some women shave it entirely, then they draw it with a pencil or a charcoal pen or whatever. All of that is prohibited, and the prohibition is severe. He said, لَعَنَ اللَّهِ. Al-la'n is to be expelled from Allah's mercy, not to be eligible for His mercy on the Day of Judgment. Is it worth it? Of course not. So please, we should try to avoid that, inshaAllah Azza wa Jal. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Habiba from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have two questions.
Go ahead, sister.
The first one is on sujood tilawa. If one is reciting the Quran and is upon an ayah that requires sujood tilawa, at which point exactly? Because there is on the line, and there is another sign. Sometimes after two verses or one, a sign like arrow pointing up. I don't know where exactly I'm supposed to do the sujood tilawa. Then the second question is on a conventional account. I have a conventional account because we don't have Islamic bank here. So each time they say interest into my account, I used to go there and withdraw it and dispose of it. But sometimes it's not convenient. So I want to ask if it is possible to just remove the equivalent of that amount from the cash in my hand and dispose of it, and it will be okay.
Okay.
That's the question.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Habiba. As far as the first question, with regards to sujood al-tilawa, that whenever you hear the reciter, whom you see reciting one of the 15 verses, in another opinion 16 verses of the Quran scattered in the Quran. Some surahs like Al-Hajj has 2 positions in the same surah of sujood. He should make sujood al-tilawah if the reciter makes sujood, whether in the salah or outside the salah. Or if you recite on your own, then you should make sujood. The sister is asking, at what point? Because there are some verses where you make sujood instantly after the ayah ends. وَاسْجُدْ وَقْتَرِبْ. Right after the word وَاسْجُدْ وَقْتَرِبْ, you make sujood. There are some verses that the sujood would not be due until the next verse. All of that is explained without giving details, what surah, what ayah number. When you open the Quran, you will see a mark which says Sajdatul Tilawa. So whether is it right away after the verse or in the following verse, you will see the mark. This is where you should make the sujood. And how to recognize that there is a sajda here? When you see the line on top of a word that commands of sujood or inspires of sujood or mentions prostration whatsoever. So when you see the mark on the side of the page, right or left, which says sajda, here you should prostrate. This is where you should prostrate on your own if you are the reciter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Saliha from the case A.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have a question from my cousin.
Yes.
I have a question from my cousin
Go
who
ahead.
performed Hajj 2 years back.
Hmm.
Her agent took her to Muzdalifah for a short time. They did their Maghrib and Isha, and then the agent took them back to their camps in Mina. She has recently heard that she has to pay fidya for this mistake. Does she have to pay the fidya?
Okay. With regards to staying in Al-Muzdalifah, it is a station that we stop by after Al-Ifadatu min Arafat. After leaving Arafat, the valley of Arafah, at sunset, we move to Al-Muzdalifah. It's an open, huge valley. And we stay there, we pray Maghrib and Isha together at the time of Isha, of course. Then the Prophet ﷺ prayed Witr and slept until it is Fajr time. And he woke up for Fajr and he led the prayer. Then they made dhikr until it was close to sunrise. They started moving. And that was all recorded in the Quran. Allah inda al-mash'ar al-haram, which is Al-Muzdalifah in general, or a specific place at the junction between Al-Muzdalifah and Mina. Staying that night in Muzdalifah is a mandatory ritual. But women, elders, sick people, handicapped, children, and those who give them company or those who are in charge for the Hajj preparation are allowed to leave past midnight. Past midnight. But those who stop by to say hi and they take off, they take a hike, they missed that wajib. And I have a friendly advice to some of the mutawwifin, those who are in charge for leading the Hujjaj and travel agents. Fear Allah with regards to the trust and the amana that Allah entrusted you with. Many travel agents worry not the least about the Hajj rituals. They just worry about what's easier for them. So they may ask people to just make ihram at Jeddah. They don't have to worry about changing their clothes at any airport, and they miss the ihram at the miqat. They say, you know what, you don't have to go to Mina on the 8th. It's just a sunnah. Let's go to Arafah directly. It is true, it is permissible. But why shall I miss a sunnah? It's crowded. I know it is crowded, and it is crowded in Arafah too. I came all the way hoping that Allah will forgive me my entire sins. It is worth it. Let me make some effort. Because al-ajru fil hajji ala qadri al-nafaqati wal-mashaqqa. You receive a reward with regards to Hajj in proportion to how much you spend and how much effort you spend or exert. So be very careful and study in details. We have many programs. I believe currently they're running a program about Hajj Insights. Learn every detail about Hajj. Log on and download Hajj step-by-step program. Learn every ritual so that the travel agent would not deceive you. There are some people who are not trustworthy. They don't have amana. they take it as a job. So they would not really instruct you as what to do. You have to be fully aware. Some people fight with the travel agency and the agent or those who are in charge for the journey if the room is not fixed, or if the hotel is 4 stars, not 5 stars, or if it is a few meters away from the Kaaba than what they prescribe. But when it comes to the Hajj rites and rituals, they're negligent of that. They say, he said. That's not sufficient. So if you did not get to stay in Muzdalifah till past midnight, then you owe a fidya. You can make up that wajib which you missed by slaughtering a sheep to be distributed in Mecca, as I said in the case of not making the ihram at the proper miqat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sharif from United Arab Emirates.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah wa shukla. Thank you for asking, Sharif.
I have 3 questions to ask. The first one is that sometimes we see imams in our local mosques, especially in Ramadan, they have the Quran in front of them open and they read the Taraweeh. Is that permissible?
So the first question is pertaining reading from the Quran if you are an imam or praying by yourself while praying the Taraweeh.
In Taraweeh, we see our imam in front of him. He has placed the Quran on a little stand, and he reads from there, and the people behind him praise the Taraweeh. That's the first question. Is he permissible to do that, or we can pray behind him, behind such imam, when he has the Quran in front of him on the stand open? And the other question is that my wife also, she prays, and sometimes she has the Quran on the side table, and during her prayer she picks up and reads the surah just because I think she's not...
so there's still within the first question, okay?
Yeah, within the first question.
No, next.
So she reads the surah from Quran, and then she gives it back, and then she performs the rest of the salah. Is that also permissible? And the third question was, if we find out that imam, a particular imam, we all know that riba is haram, but if some imam has taken or given riba, for example, the interest on cars through the bank loan or personal loan, are we allowed to pray behind him?
Okay.
Jazakallah.
Wa jazakum. Okay, I won't be able to take any more phone calls. I would like to answer these questions before the end of the program, so I apologize to the brothers and sisters who are waiting on the line. I'm sorry, and inshallah, please try next time. Reading the Quran in the voluntary prayer, according to the vast majority of the scholars, is indeed permissible, relying on the event that Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha wa ardaha used to allow her servant Dhakwan read from the Quran. If the person is not a hafiz or is not mastering the memorization of the Quran, is reading long surahs and in order, it is permissible, whether an imam or a follower. Opposed to that is the opinion of Al-Imam Abu Hanifa. He said, no, it is not permissible. Why? He said for 2 reasons. One, it resembles the act of the people of the book. They read from the Bible or the Old Testament. The second is, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, if you do 3 unnecessary moves in the salah, it invalidates the whole prayer. Okay, so when we discuss the view of Imam Abu Hanifa with regards to the moves, number 1, there is no such reference that says that if you do the 3 unnecessary moves, it would ruin the prayer. The number is not stated anywhere. Number 2, that now it is carried on a tripod or a rahil, so that the imam does not change the pages whatsoever. So according to the Jumhur, it is valid. And if it is valid for an individual to do so, then it is valid for the followers to do so. But I highly recommend for the ma'mumin, the followers, not to busy themselves with carrying the Quran, rather to focus on following the recitation of the imam. So if it is permissible for the imam, then it's also permissible for your wife. And it is much more encouraging for people to pray at night, because now they get to recite longer surahs. It is permissible according to the vast majority of the scholars. I perfectly understand this is a point of conflict between the Hanafis and others. They take it as a matter of life and death, and some people fight over that in many Islamic centers, and it creates a lot of problems. But here I'm presenting the view of the vast majority of the scholars, which is the more correct. Imam is dealing with riba. He said that he may have bought a car from riba. I'm not supposed to investigate or dig behind people, because you never know what was the reason. As long as the Imam does not say in public, yeah, it is permissible to buy a house with mortgage or a car with mortgage, then it is permissible to pray behind him, because you never know. Sometimes it is permissible for people in deep trouble or in necessity to do something like that. So we're not supposed to investigate, and as long as the Imam says it is haram and does not make lawful what Allah prohibited, then it is lawful still to pray behind him. Until then, brothers and sisters, or by that, brothers and sisters, we came to the end of today's program, and until next time, I leave you in peace. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.